welcome to My Body Talk Show. I am your host, Celia Lee. Today, we've got a very special guest all the way from the States, and her name is LuAna. Hey, LuAna. Say hi to everybody.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be with you all here. Thank you,
Yeah,
Cilia.
so LuAna is like my soul tribe sister. Her birthday is a day before mine, and it's mad. And we actually met virtually on Zoom on a coaching program, and for like 6 months, and then we only met each other in person in November, end of November, at an event. Yeah. So, but yeah. So LuAna, why don't you just start off by introducing yourself, where you're from, what you do, and what you're all about?
Yeah. My name is LuAna. I am currently in the Bay Area, California. I practice different energy modalities, but I also am a hypnotherapist and practice NBP, which is neural bilateral processing. And really, I got interested with all of that through my journey with Lyme disease and Babesia and how it helped me. And once I saw it helped me, I was like, oh, this is really powerful. I want to get this out into the world in my way. Because, each person has their own special touch that they add to the art of what they're doing. And so that's the journey I'm on right now. And I've been really enjoying it. And I loved how we met because we met through a breathwork event, which I really believe as people who are helping other people evolve and become their most authentic selves, that we as guides need to be working on ourselves as well so we can embody what we are putting out. So that's why I love that we met there while we were working on ourselves. And then we can have it like a drop in the ocean, go out and flow out and help with others.
Yeah, amazing. So, LuAna, because you just mentioned about Lyme disease, can you explain what exactly it is? Because some people don't really know, like including myself, don't exactly know what exact Lyme disease is.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. So Lyme disease with co-infections, it is something that you get through being bitten by a tick. And as science evolves, they're learning that you can get it through different ways. It can be sexually transmitted. I happened to get it as a child through a tick bite. But I went undiagnosed for 33 years. So there was all these weird things happening with me. But I like to connect it with the spiritual journey as well, because if you think about a tick, it literally is attaching onto your body and sucking out your life force. And while it's sucking your life force out, it's infecting you with these different infections that people can look up. There's lots of information on Babesia and Lyme disease, but they cause a multisystemic infection. And the reason I like to connect that to the spiritual world is because in the spiritual world, we do have what you can call energy vampires, which can also be put into the psychological world, which is someone who is having you betray yourself, which is you. This always comes back to you as well. But until you have an awareness of this, it is something that you're not able to maybe balance or protect yourself from. And so that's why I like to connect them all. I am writing a book that will talk about more with Lyme disease, that I believe it's actually a spiritual gift. It may anger people to hear that, but I do believe illnesses are a gift. I think it's a DNA upgrade. Should one choose to do the work? Doesn't people don't do the work and pass away too. That could be part of their soul contract. It's a very complex, in my opinion, discussion. But yeah, that is what Lyme disease did to me, was basically to a point where I had the symptoms of Alzheimer's and couldn't remember how to get home. So if anybody is familiar with SPECT imaging and Dr. Amen, which I encourage them to check out Dr. Amen. He has some phenomenal work with brain imaging. That's when we started to see what was going on. that I had a traumatic brain
Yeah.
injury from falling off a horse, and then I had that. And why I mention that is because I had to heal myself to get to here. And that is very powerful because I watched people around me while I was in the clinic, and I watched them choose to, I want to pick the word in a compassionate way. I watched their choices where it led them on different paths.
Yeah.
So some chose to leave,
Mm-hmm.
some chose to be in a realm of
Yeah.
pity, and then others chose to be not a martyr anymore or not have
Yeah.
pity and to do all that they could. And even though I do want to emphasize, I saw people who did all they could and still passed away.
Mm.
So people understand there is a
Yeah.
biological realm to all of this. Our mind is very
Yeah.
powerful, but our here in the
Yeah.
3D.
You know what? I love the fact that you made it sound very positive, because usually when people have diseases, it's very negative. Like people are like, oh, like there's lots of sympathy around it. But you said it's a gift, and it's if anything, it's probably the first time I've heard anyone say, well, yeah, you're probably one of the first people I've heard to turn it around to say that this so and so disease is a gift for me, and I just think that's so beautiful.
Thank you. I want the listener to understand I have not always been that way. I did go through the stage where I was very angry, felt very sorry for myself. So I went through different levels. So I want them to understand that.
Mm.
But if we do the work and we open
Yeah.
up to receive the different messages, we can see the
Yeah.
gift.
So I want to talk about that a bit more, to we can explain, because some people won't, who are probably new to spiritual world, won't really know, won't understand like the sort of the way we speak. So you said heal yourself. Explain what you mean by healing yourself so people understand that.
Yeah. So healing myself for me was in conjunction with
Mm.
science. I am a big believer of the spiritual can walk hand in hand with science. Just like we have the feminine and the masculine that are side by side balanced, I see science and spirituality side by side.
Mm.
So if one or the other takes over, there's an imbalance,
Mm.
right? So I did do it with science. So I had chemotherapy, I had plasmapheresis, dendritic cell exchange, and vaccine. But within that, I went into my subconscious mind and I created an awareness to what patterns, both from me or passed down intergenerationally, were affecting my daily experience. And in that daily experience, how was it having an effect on my avatar? And when I say avatar, I'm just saying our
Yeah.
body, right? For those who may be new with it, you can call it any name you want. I'm really not too much on labels.
Mm.
Whatever is for
Yeah.
you, please choose it and go with that. But I see it as an avatar because my soul, I know, is very old
Mm-hmm.
soul. It's had avatars, and there has been a consistent thing, and this leads back to the healing part that I noticed as I went into meditation and looking into my DNA, which I see our DNA as
Yeah.
code. If you think of a computer, you have it coded and it has the program that it's playing. I see our DNA as this beautiful code. And where they say that it's junk DNA, this is not junk DNA. This is actually just coding that they haven't. I was about to say they haven't figured out. People do actually know what it is. But it is not junk. It is actually our specific abilities and messages that are unique to our soul.
Mm.
So when I went into that soul information, I started seeing, oh, my great grandmother. Oh, my grandmother. Oh, I saw like
How did
connections.
you get into
And
that?
that was through
Okay.
meditation. Yeah, I just went into the meditation. And then I met an amazing mentor, Geraldine Orozco, who opened the door. The information she shares is just combined information from lots of different modalities. But she is someone I have been in, I know, with a different
Yeah.
lifetime that we've worked together. I have like these little what I
Yeah.
believe, these little connections with people that we've already worked with, and they help us remember back to. And the reason I mentioned that is because all of those little puzzle pieces help me towards my healing.
Yeah.
And also know my healing is something that it is a lifelong
Yeah.
venture. And so when I say I healed myself, I went in and I took out different programming. And when I say programming, I mean, like, for example, when I was diagnosed with Lyme disease and Babesia, I was told, you have had this so long, it's in all of your organs, it's in your brain, it's in every single part of you, in your bones. If people research about the spirochete, they go everywhere. They have a cloaking mechanism. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is scary.
Mm.
But in that moment, I decided, okay, do I get to decide that I'm going to just not try and pass away? Or am I going to believe that you can heal and that I can have an amazing life?
So
Because when the doctor was telling me this, oh, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, so there was a chance for you to pass away, basically.
You can pass away from Lyme disease. Usually, the way people pass away from Lyme disease is committing
Right.
suicide because it is so horrifically, um, there's a lot of suffering with it, just physical suffering. And not only that, it goes into Babesia, particularly, goes into the nervous system and it affects the way your mind thinks. And especially now that we understand that we have a connection between the mind, the heart, and our
Mm.
gut. The spirochete take over basically the messaging of what you want to eat, and they tell you what they want to eat.
Mm.
So it is quite complex. But then once you can switch it around very quickly when you start making your body a non-hospitable
Mm.
place. So you take out inflammatory foods, you take out
Yeah.
sugar, you take out everything they feed on, and then they start to die. Uh, but yeah, there are complications other than suicide, but the biggest one is suicide. And I want to really emphasize for the listener, for me, suicide, I am not going to judge someone who committed suicide. I understand that they got to the point of so much suffering that they could no longer do it. And I feel in their passing that I rather give them the gift of compassion and grace than judge.
What what sort of thing did you suffer from? If you don't mind me asking.
The
Yeah.
physical
That was
thing,
painful. Yeah.
yeah. So I felt very suicidal. I felt, which really surprises a lot of people because I'm a very positive person. And if they had known me before I got ill, very positive. In fact, my parents, it was like seeing a complete change because before 5 years old, I'd wake up at 4:30 or 5 in the morning singing. My dad called me his little songbird, singing, very happy, very full of
Yeah.
life. And then after I got bitten, it was like this cloud, this darkness came over. So I had lots of different manifestations of it. It was memory problems, difficulty speaking. It sounded like I was drunk when I was speaking. I was in the master's program. I went from straight A's to D's and F's because I couldn't remember the material. I couldn't focus on driving well. Light was very sensitive to me. Sound very sensitive. Pain in all of my bones. And actually, there's just so many that now I don't remember them, thankfully, because they're gone. But at the time, it was a long list. But the biggest ones for me that were challenging were fatigue, the anxiety, overwhelming anxiety, and it would come out of nowhere because Babesia is very similar to malaria. So you have fevers all of a sudden. And the really interesting thing about it is it would come and go. So you would have times where you're like, oh, I'm great. And then bang, you'd have a relapse or it would have a flare up.
So you said that you became a hypnotherapist because of your disease, and how long have you been a hypnotherapist for?
I'd have to look back at when I got my certificate. I'm not very good with the passage of time. I'm going to be honest. I think it was
Okay.
2018, but I didn't start like really putting it out there and practicing until about 2020. So yeah, I did start that because of my journey. I remember one time, just it was because when you have the treatments, it's very intense as well as one. You know, plasmapheresis takes 4 hours where they're changing over your blood. And I just remember one of the evenings, it was so excruciating that I was crying that I just said, God, me, source, whatever, either take me or give me a direction, because this in between, this limbo, it's not working for me anymore. And then I had something from Joe Dispenza pop up. And I was like, okay, interesting. And I was really interested in his story because he was talking about his experience with his back. And I said, hey, this is what I needed. I needed somebody who, science-based, because growing up, I had a lot of people from the church talk to me. I don't even know how many times I've been baptized, because they told me if I got baptized, I'd be healed. You know, all these different. I mean, for me, I went on the journey of healing. I didn't care if they put a chicken over me. I've had a rooster over me. I've had every single thing to heal. Because I was dedicated, you know. But when when Dr. Joe Dispenza's video popped up, I said, okay. So I really dove deep into him. I read his books. I really studied what he was doing. Then Marissa Peer came up to me. She has the rapid transformational therapy with whom I was trained. She came up and I started listening to one of her free sessions on YouTube. And I just listened to it over and over and over. I would cry to sleep to that, but over and over until finally that with the meditation, something clicked. And it said, we're going to give you your own access to your technology again to be able to start healing yourself. And with that, in the combination of the information you've been given, you're going to help lead millions of people back to themselves. And so that's what I've started now.
That was a download. That was a message to you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
Yeah.
I love that. So, apart from listening to YouTube and the meditation, did you ever receive any hypnosis, like any session yourself?
I didn't until I started the training. When you start the training, you do, so the students, as part of your practicum and protocol, is you practice with one another.
All right, okay.
Yeah. And then I have not actually had like a deep, there's different types of hypnotherapy, but once I learned how to do it to myself, I was like, well, I think I know exactly what I need for myself. With Geraldine, I did have a DNA reprogramming, but it's very similar. It's more of a meditation. But no, I haven't had the past life regression. But again, I don't think I need to, because within my meditation, I can take myself there.
That's
but different. Some people like to have a guide. Some people don't have a guide. Some people are their own guides. What I do know is eventually I'm going to experience Aya. And within that, I have been told I am going to have a guide. I already had the vision very clear. There's going to be 5 guides. And there's no more than 5 or 6 people there. With that, they said I will have a guide. And then from there, maybe I will know the next person who maybe will be my hypnotherapist. I don't know. But I shown by my higher self where I'm going to go, or whatever name people want to say it is. But by I'm led. And now that I know how to be tapped into that part of me, I go with my intuition in that. And it has not taken me down the wrong path.
I'm still trying to get myself, when I meditate, I'm still trying to get into that, what you said, like that place where you sort of suck, you know, like when you just you breathe and you get sucked into this other sort of dimension. I'm still trying to get into there, but the way I meditate, sometimes my mind every now and then gets very chatty, gets very busy, but then I just focus on my breathing. But then I do realize, I have noticed recently, when I really do sort of focus on my breathing and just try not to control, because a lot of times I'm trying to control, be like, okay, stay still. But when I do let go, naturally, I start getting like messages, like downloads. And some people might not believe and think, oh, you're just talking to yourself. But I actually do start talking out loud, and then it just flows. It just flows, and it's like, it's almost the way the stuff that comes out of my mouth, it comes like a poem.
Hmm.
And I write it down straight away, and it's like these like little messages, and it all makes sense to me as well. So, but I don't. I think everyone maybe have different ways of tapping into that dimension. Maybe that's my way, but I think I really want, because I always hear people like you and I'm a friend saying that whenever they meditate, they as soon as they take a couple of breaths, and they're in there, they're in that dimension or that state, and I sort of like want to be there. Yeah.
Well, and I'd like to emphasize it wasn't always that way
Mm,
for me. Before, I had a very busy mind. Like, I really had to work. And I'm glad you brought that up because I think it's important for our viewers and listeners to understand. Because as they watch or listen to us, they will be at different stages of their awakening and coming back to
mm,
themselves. That I was not where I am now
mm,
before. It took me some practice and discipline because before, even 2 minutes, I'd have to like to
mm.
itch or
Yeah.
move or do something, you know? And I'd be like, oh, why is it not happening? Where are my gifts? Why am I not having light language? Why am I, so I would have a lot of different things until I finally understood that my gift is me.
Mm,
Simply
yeah.
being is the
Exactly.
gift.
Yeah. Yeah.
The tone of my voice is the gift. What I say can be exactly the same as millions of other
Yeah.
people, but because of the exact tone and frequency of my
Mm,
voice, it will connect to the people it's supposed to connect with.
yeah. Exactly. I think it's we all we all have a calling, and we all have a gift. So I think that's one thing. And yeah, we need to understand that you can't always compare. So, which is what I've been trying to compare, get myself like where you are. Let's say, don't try and compare yourself with other people, and just be in the moment. And for those who are new to meditation, I think really just like, it's not even about, sometimes for you might, for the listeners, some of you listeners might not even be about spiritual awakening. Maybe you just want to calm, quieten your mind. So just sit there and just
Mhm.
focus on the breathing. When you breathe, when you meditate, count count the breathing, so when you inhale, and then count when you sort of like exhale. So that could just be simple as that. But yeah, everyone has different purposes for meditation.
They do. And I'm glad we're speaking about that because it will be important to that person for what they need it
Mm,
for and for different parts of their life. And them finding their purpose, because a lot of people will ask me, what's my purpose? I mean, our purpose doesn't mean we need to be a cacao
mm,
ceremony person or helping guide with Aya, which are beautiful things to do. But it doesn't mean we're all that
yeah,
way. Some of our purpose are being an extraordinary mother
yeah,
or a beautiful
yeah,
teacher. But with this presence, I think for me, what I want to teach most is this presence of connecting with each soul
mm,
and helping them evolve onto their path where they feel empowered in their
mm,
journey, whatever their journey looks
yeah.
like.
And I want to go back to Dr. Joe Dispenza about how he said, "Oh, it makes sense to you." So he talks a lot about the subconscious mind. Explain to people about the subconscious mind, and also how that ties into, because obviously I had an episode a few weeks back, about a month ago now, about what manifestation is, and we did talk a little bit about the subconscious mind and
Mhm.
how does hypnosis tie into manifestation, and if it does it.
Okay, excellent question. So, for my take, I'm going to first start with the Dr. Joe
Mm,
Dispenza and the subconscious mind. So, scientifically, so far, and science is changing just like everything and evolving. So, if you hear this later and it's changed, don't worry, we're always evolving. But at this time, they have calculated like 90 to 90, I think it's 90% of our subconscious mind is what runs the show, right? And so the first thing I'd like to say is when people are worried about hypnosis is that we're actually operating on hypnosis most of the time in our days, unless we have practiced becoming present.
mhm,
And that hypnosis is the programs that we've been taught from 0 to 7 years old. So when Dr. Joe Dispenza is talking about the subconscious mind, he's talking about exactly those programs that we have had programmed into us. That becomes then our daily habits, and our daily habits become our personality. Our personality dictates what our days look like, and our days dictate what our reality looks like. So if you see it that way, you are creating your reality, manifesting your reality. So if you go into the subconscious mind and you start programming in, for example, if someone has the idea that to succeed, they must struggle, they are creating that they must struggle to succeed because they truly believe that. Now, what we could program in is that we can succeed in joy and inspiration. At first, if the person's not used to that, they're going to have resistance. But when they start reprogramming that and saying, I am, or it is safe to succeed in joy and inspiration. And they start, programming that into their subconscious mind. That then is going to start going out into their frequency. That is going to go out into what they are doing daily and what they believe, who they interact with, because who they surround themselves around. Because once they start believing this, they're going to distance themselves from people who are saying, you have to struggle, you have to struggle, you have to struggle. Because that, I see it like a pot with the crabs. The crabs, they don't care who they're trying to get out. They're trying to get out, but they will actually pull the other crab back in to the boiling water, right? That one crab that's getting out, all the rest will pull it down. That's what I see like these negative programs will do. So when you start shifting it, which helps shift your reality, then you start surrounding you. There's going to be the crabs who pull you out instead of the crabs who pull you down, right? And then your reality becomes that you are succeeding in joy and inspiration. And then it starts manifesting what you want, right? If you start seeing every single day, for example, I'll give a perfect example. I told myself every single day, I can heal. In that day, as I was vomiting from the, chemotherapy, and I had things inside of me, I did not fully believe that I can heal, because it didn't look like I can heal or I can be better. But every single moment that I had the thought come that you're going to die, or this is scary, or this is this, I said, no, I can heal. I can get better. I'm going to have this. And that shifts instantly what your real experience becomes, manifesting it in.
That's why people always hear people say your mind is powerful. You are what you think, and you be careful what you think or wish for. Yeah, and
It is very important to be mindful of what we are thinking and saying.
So listeners, like I want you to understand. So what we just basically I want to add to this is you can actually manifest whatever you want, basically, and have whatever you want, as long as you just believe in it and be open to receiving, be ready to receive, and believe that you're worthy, and believe that that thing, whatever it is already yours. That's it, isn't it?
It is. I would add there is the discipline, the consistency, and the courage there. Because I feel like when I was studying a lot about manifesting, there seems to be this dichotomy of, you just sit and wait. You do draw things into you, but it is a balance. Like I was talking about, the balance
got to
of
be
the
aligned
feminine.
to what that you want.
Yes, exactly. It doesn't mean we have to be perfect. We're going to go through times where we're very productive, and then there's times where we're resting and receiving and just being graceful and compassionate and waiting for that, alignment. Definitely that discipline, the consistency, and courage. The courage to believe.
And don't worry, don't try to control the situation. Don't worry about the how. Be in the being flow state, the art of flow state. I want to go back to. I just it popped up in my head. You said about your story when you said you gave an example. Oh, I'm I can heal. Right. So
Mhm.
my friend, she told me about a story about, in fact, this is actually going to be an episode that's going to be out, but I'll give a little teaser. Um, so she was pregnant, and she obviously had a complication, and the doctor, she had to rush to the hospital, and the doctor basically said, like, it's either this is a very complicated situation. Basically, her kidney was failing, and her she was basically getting really weak. And I can't remember. I think she was only 5 months pregnant or something like that. But anyway, and then she had to rush to the hospital, and they was basically saying, like, it's either you or the baby. Okay,
Mhm.
and and but the doctor said that to her sister, and her sister was like, you know what, sis, I'm so sorry. Like, obviously, I have to save you over the baby. And my friend was like, there's no way she is letting go of this baby. So she
Mhm.
said that what so the last thing she did was basically, I think it's called light work. And
Mhm.
she said, what has she got to lose? Just gonna try whatever she can. So literally, it's just like they were doing these mantra affirmation, and her sister would basically, I think her and her sister did together, put their hands on her belly, and then they were literally just saying all
Mhm.
these affirmation. I can heal. I'll be fine. All that kind of stuff. And after a week or so, the doctor was like said to her, "Don't know what's going on, but your kidney is recovering. It's activated.
Mhm.
It's like it's working again." And what happened was, but although she did still, like, the baby was still born prematurely, but the fact that they were both fine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And when I hear these occurrences, well, one, it just brings me such
mm,
joy. But I see these as a choice. It's a choice of whether we
mm-hmm,
betray our inner knowing or we believe something outside of
mm,
us. And so she was given a choice. Do I betray my inner
mm-hmm,
knowing or do I believe the fear from
yeah,
outside of me? And she chose to remain in her power.
mm,
And this is why it can be quite
yeah,
healing
yeah,
because she stood right in that.
yeah. And sometimes fear really can take over, and that's,
It
yeah,
can. And I would like the listener to understand that if you have had fear come over you, you are perfectly normal.
mm,
It's okay. Now, as you're listening to us, you're going to get the skills and the tools to remain in your power and then know what to
mm,
do. But it's happened to all of us on our
yeah,
journey, I believe.
absolutely, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just knowing how to not let that fear take over, and have the courage to overcome any obstacles, so-called obstacles, self-doubt, and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, LuAna, like, because you're a hypnotherapist, I think you're so, it's by default, when you talk, it's so soothing. It's almost like in a session with you. Talking about that, obviously, I had a session with you, and it's not what I expected it to be. Because obviously, from the movies, you think, oh, when you get hypnotized, you're in trance, and then you don't know what's going on, you're in control. But it was nothing like that. It was, I was just lying there. Obviously, so listeners, we did it over Zoom, and I was just there on my bed, and you told me just to relax, and I was just listening to your voice, close my eyes, and I was aware, I was conscious of what's going on. It was literally, I actually was aware. I was not in a trance, nothing like that, but I was just really relaxed, and then it was basically like deep meditation, basically, but you were guiding me, basically.
Yeah, that's how I would
Yeah.
describe it personally. Um, Everyone has a different definition, and
Yeah.
science says it's one thing or the other. But for me, it's two souls
Mm,
journeying in a safe environment
mm,
and learning, teaching you how to tap back and then becoming aware of fragmented parts of ourselves where we heal them and put them and make them whole again back inside. And so I love it. And you did such an amazing
oh,
job.
thank you. um, yeah, it was so good. It was like, and then it went so quick. And how long was the session?
It was, I believe ours was two
Wow.
hours. Yeah, they usually So 1.5 hours to 2 hours, sometimes three. It
Wow.
depends.
Well, for me, it just felt like half an hour. Literally. It's like dreaming. You know, when you're in a dream, in your head, when you wake up, it was literally that story in a dream. That dream seemed like it was only like 10 minutes, but you actually slept for the whole night. It was literally, that's how it felt like. Um,
Yeah, it is extraordinary because I know when people were practicing on me, when I was doing the practicum, I actually, I'll be honest, it was very hard for them to hypnotize me at
mm,
first because I was on such a survival mode
mm,
that I would not let go.
mm,
So it wasn't until like the fifth session that I finally was like, okay, like I aligned with the right soul that all of a sudden I was like, I feel safe
yeah,
to do this, let go, and I'm going to do it. And you're right. Once I got in there, I was like, wow, I thought it was like maybe 20 minutes or something. She's like, no, LuAna, that was 3 hours. Gosh. As you know, because you've experienced it, it's so beautiful when led with someone you
mm,
trust because you are conscious the whole time. You are
yeah,
in control, but you're gently being guided to these different
mm,
areas that need awareness and
yeah,
love and
mm,
attention. And when you come back, at least when I came back, I felt so light and
yeah.
free and inspired.
And like, I can say also, it's not, I think, like you said, like the soul, when the soul connect, it works because I've actually did a healing session with someone and maybe our souls didn't connect. I'm not saying she's not good, but maybe our soul just didn't connect. I just didn't feel the same as our session. So her session was after you, like a month after, but it just wasn't the same.
Mhm.
It was almost like, I don't know, I can't even explain it. I just was like, I don't know if that actually worked. I don't know. It's like it made me question. But with you, I know it worked because. So for those who are curious, what did I get myself hypnotized for? It was more like I was trying to get rid of self doubt, and I know it worked because it makes you aware that when you have that self doubt sort of coming in. Because I remember after doing the session and listening to the recording that you sent me, had to listen for 21 days. There were times where I
Mhm.
want to do something, and then this little voice would come in and like, oh, but should you do? And I'd be like, and I'm like immediately be like, no, Celia, that's self doubt. And then so
Mhm.
I do notice the difference. And in fact, if anything, I think you heard me say this on a call and a tribe. I said, ever since I've eliminated the fear and self doubt, things have gone so smoothly. I literally, it's almost like I'm ready to go get whatever I want. So definitely works.
Yeah, it's true, and that's how I can tie into manifestation,
Mm,
right? I think you just gave a perfect example because you start aligning then your subconscious
mm,
programming with what you
yeah,
want, and it just comes together.
yeah,
And when I just want to make a clarification for our listeners. When I say our souls connect, don't worry, I'm not connecting to
yeah,
your soul. Af- Afterwards, I do cut cords. We are
yeah,
not
yeah,
like we are sovereign beings. Um, but what I meant is that you know your higher
yeah,
self and your intuition is going to guide you to the teachers you need where you are at
yeah,
now. And then when that happens, it's
yeah,
magical. That's been my experience when I am aligned up with my
mm,
teachers or
yeah,
guides too. Um, but yeah, it is. I love the experience.
yeah. Me too. All right, so I think we've pretty much covered a lot of stuff, and I think there's a lot for people to process as well. I'm gonna wrap
Thanks.
up. Any?
Do we want to mention anything about our future endeavors that we have planned? We don't have exact
Okay,
dates
yeah,
yet, but maybe we could get a teaser of things that we're thinking about.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we obviously because me and Luana were just talking about manifestation, all that. And as you know, listeners, you know by now, both of us are very spiritual and things like that. So we are to say 90%.
Well, I know for sure we're gonna have it. I just don't know which
which
date.
days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do some few retreats. Well, there's gonna be a big retreat, and there's gonna be like a couple of mini workshops. So they will be based all to do with awakening the goddess, tapping into your feminine energy, and it'll be breathwork and meditation. These are all the activities they're going to be doing, but the details and dates will come soon. So stay tuned.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. But you do know one for March for sure, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So March 20th, you can have the pleasure of seeing Cilia and myself. We're going to put together, like, I wouldn't say it's a retreat, but it's sort of like a meeting time for us to look at the spring equinox. And we're going to be focusing on, manifestation there, of course, because spring is a great time for focusing on what you want to manifest. And so you'll see more details for that in her feed and my feed on Instagram. But I'm really excited to see you there. Everybody that I've told here, they're very excited to meet you. I'm honored to have you come. So it's an exciting start to a beautiful journey.
Yeah, amazing. So for those who are not based in the States, in London, my people, this workshop on the 20th of March, equinox one, is going to be in the States. San Fran, is it?
It's 40 minutes outside of San Francisco. So Martina.
Okay. So so if you want to fly to the States and go ahead.
More than welcome.
But if not, we are going to have something in London and also in. Should we say the location?
Yeah, they were definitely. Yeah. So definitely something in London, and then definitely something in Spain, in Fuerteventura.
Yes.
Yes. So we'll keep them posted on the dates. We know it's happening. We want to make sure we have the dates right.
All right. So how can people get in contact with you?
Oh, brilliant. Thank you. I always forget that part. They can find me on Instagram at limitless possibilities 1010. That's pretty much the best place to connect with me right now. Or I'm on TikTok at limitless possibilities 1010. They can feel free to give me a DM, and I'll be happy to answer any questions they may have and explain any services they may be interested in. I'll see my YouTube channel at limitless possibilities 10.
Sorry, say that again. What was that? I've been cut off a bit.
My YouTube channel on Limitless Possibilities 1010 or Spotify, Spiritual Bridge. I almost forgot.
No worry, I'll put the link in the information below. And also, people just know that I think I mentioned it earlier. The hypnosis session I did with LuAna was over Zoom, so it does work. So even if you're not based in the States, you don't have to fly all the way to meet her. You can be anywhere in the world, and you still do the job. You still work. So
absolutely, and soon I'll be in London, so they can also book there. And I want to say for anyone listening in my area, while she's here, I'm sure she would be happy to share any of her gifts. Because while you're here, you could maybe have some sessions with people and talk to them about the female embodiment, talk to them about the dancing. I'm really excited. I'm going to get a personal dancing in heels session from her because I need it. So I'm looking forward to that. I don't think we'll have video of that. I'm just going to be, but I'm looking forward to that.
Me too. All right then. Thank you so much, LuAna. It was such a pleasure to have you. And until next time, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon in March. And and everyone else, thank you so much for listening and watching, or watching if you're watching. And until next time, love you loads.